Missouri's largest public university and one of the largest employers in the state is touting plans for an expansion.
WGEM Missouri Capitol Bureau reporter Hannah Falcon has more on the University of Missouri's plans as enrollment and state investments grow.
The largest university in the state is seeing record growth and enrollment. President Mun Choi detailed today how he plans to continue that momentum.
Students want to be part of this winning culture.
The largest freshman class in University of Missouri history is preparing for midterms. But the university is already preparing for even more students, as applications so far this year have already exceeded last year by 43%.
We are a good investment for the state of Missouri.
Thanks to record investment from the state, the University of Missouri is putting forward its most ambitious investment plan yet, Mizzou Forward. The plan is to invest $1.5 billion over the next 10 years in university growth. Some of the projects include moving and expanding the MURR, the expansion of the football stadium, and funding a lot of medical research.
This only happens when Missourians and elected leaders see value in what we do.
The wildest dream of my life was to attend college, and now that I'm here.
For first-generation college student Jonathan Martinez, attending the University of Missouri is a dream come true.
That just truly shows me how different we are as human beings, but how together, because of Mizzou and this institution, we're put together to work.
He says he's seen growth over the years, but there is one project he's most excited for.
The stadium is pretty cool.
You can already see a return on some of these investments with the football stadium expansion and new hospital buildings. Reporting at the University of Missouri, I'm Hannah Falcon, WGEM News.